Hi guys, it must be story time again. Nee.
Yo, Pan, you ready?
Yeah,
Man, let's lock and load.
yeah,
Just blaze.
yeah,
No, turn me up.
yeah,
I think we got one.
yeah.
Here we go.
Hey guys, it's Miss McAllister. Welcome back to our story time. Today we're going to read another one of my favorite books. Hint, hint. Every book is my favorite. And this one's called The Greedy Triangle, okay? So, as always, we're going to set our objective first. We're going to make sure you guys know what you're going to be listening for during this story. Some of the things you guys have done for the past couple of weeks, so we're not going to harp on them too hard. Just be aware that it is your expectation that you need to be able to tell me everything that I'm about to show you for your objectives. Alrighty guys, so here are the 4 things that you are going to be focusing on today for The Greedy Triangle. Number 1, is this book fiction or nonfiction? We've talked about this in the last couple of videos, so we do our read-alouds. So if you don't remember the difference between fiction and nonfiction, you need to go back and rewatch those videos. You guys are almost in 3rd grade. I know you got this. Number 2 is your story elements. So just like every single story that we read, you need to identify these 5 major things. Number 1, the character or characters. Sometimes there's a bunch of characters. Sometimes there's only one character. You need to determine how many characters they are and what their names are. Then we have the setting. The setting is not only where, but also when the story takes place. The when can be kind of tricky sometimes, especially in a fiction book. But if you pay attention to all the little clues that the author gives you by reading not only the words, but the pictures, you should be able to figure it out. Next, we have the problem, events, and solution. All 3 of those kind of go together because you have to have a problem in order to have events, in order to have a solution. So there's a big major issue in this book today. So you need to identify, which means point out, the problem, and then all the steps that happen before there is a solution. We're also going to stick in an extra little question today. A lot of us had trouble with this at the beginning of the year about what is the lesson or what is the moral of the story. So this book has a very important lesson in it. Remember that when we look for lessons in stories, they normally happen towards the end of the book. And they also tie into the problem and the solution. So be a good detective, look for those clues in the book, and try and figure out, what is this story trying to teach you? What is supposed to be your takeaway from this story? And of course, we can't forget your opinion. How'd you feel about the book? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And you have to provide evidence. So, today's read aloud is The Greedy Triangle. Let's get going. The Greedy Triangle by Marilyn Burns. Illustrated by Gordon Silveria. There once was a triangle, and as most triangles are, was busy. The triangle spent his time holding up roofs, supporting bridges, making music in symphony orchestra, catching the wind for sailboats, being slices of pie, and halves of sandwiches, and much, much more. The triangle's favorite thing, however, was to slip into a place when people put their hands on their hips. That way I always hear the latest news, it said, which I can tell my friends. The triangle's friends liked hearing the news. One day, the triangle began to feel dissatisfied. I'm tired of doing the same old things, it grumbled. There must be more to life. So the triangle went to see the local shapeshifter. How may I help you? The shapeshifter asked the triangle. I think if I had just one more side and one more angle, said the triangle, my life would be a little more interesting. That's easy to do, said the shapeshifter. Poof! The shapeshifter turned the triangle into a quadrilateral. Life changed in a wonderful way. The quadrilateral was happy with all the new things it could do, The quadrilateral could be a baseball diamond, or first, or second, or third base. It could take position on a checkerboard or chessboard. It could be a television screen, or a computer screen, or a movie screen. It could frame windows or frame pictures, and much, much more. The quadrilateral's favorite thing, however, was to be the pages of a book. I learned so many interesting stories that way, it said, which I could tell my friends. The quadrilateral's friends liked hearing the stories. But one day, the quadrilateral began to feel dissatisfied. I'm tired of doing the same old things, it grumbled. There must be more to life. So the quadrilateral went back to the shapeshifter. How may I help you now? The shapeshifter asked the quadrilateral. I think that if I had just one more side and one more angle, said the quadrilateral, my life would be more interesting. That's easy to do, said the shapeshifter. Poof! The shapeshifter turned the quadrilateral into a pentagon. Life changed in a wonderful way. The pentagon was happy with all the new things it could do. On a baseball diamond, the pentagon could be home plate. It could be a section on a soccer ball or appear inside whenever someone drew a 5-pointed star. The Pentagon's favorite thing, however, was to be the headquarters of the United States military near Washington, D.C. I hear all the top secrets that way, it said. It's too bad I can't tell them to my friends. The Pentagon's friends couldn't help but feel left out. After a while, time seemed to pass slowly for the Pentagon, and it became dissatisfied. I'm tired of doing the same old things, it grumbled. There must be more to life. So the Pentagon went back to the shapeshifter. So, you're here again, the shapeshifter said to the Pentagon. Now what would you like? I think that if I had just one more side and one more angle, said the Pentagon, my life would be more interesting. That's easy to do, said the shapeshifter. Poof! The shapeshifter turned the Pentagon into a hexagon. Life changed again in a wonderful way. The hexagon was happy with all the things it could do. The hexagon fit in as a floor tiles and houses and patios and fancy crackers at parties and picnics. It worked as a socket of certain bolts and the prongs of certain wrenches. The hexagon's favorite thing, however, was to be a cell in a beehive. I love watching the bees as they buzz in and out, it said. The hexagon spent so much time in the beehive it was too busy to talk to its friends. The friends missed the hexagon and couldn't help but feel ignored. Again and again, the shape became restless, dissatisfied, and unhappy with its life. Again and again, it returned to the shapeshifter for more sides and more angles. The shapeshifter agreed to turn it into one shape after another. A heptagon, an octagon, a nonagon, a decagon, and on and on and on. Finally, the shape had many, many sides and many, many angles. Its sides were so small that it had trouble keeping its balance. Its friends couldn't tell which side it was on and began to avoid the shape. One day, when the shape was going down a hill, it began to roll. Faster and faster it went, screeching around corners, crashing into fences and trees, colliding with bicycles and terrifying walkers. At last, the shape came to a stop. It felt tired and dizzy and lonely and sad. Enough, thought the shape. I don't know which side is up. I can't keep my balance. My friends don't want me around. The shape could no longer remember why it had been so unhappy as a triangle. Very carefully, it made its way back to the shapeshifter. Aren't you happy yet? Said the shapeshifter. I want to be a triangle again, said the shape. I'm not surprised, said the shapeshifter. Poof! The shapeshifter turned the shape back into a triangle. The triangle was delighted to have its old shape back again and kept itself very busy. Once again, it held up roofs, supported bridges, made music in a symphony orchestra, caught wind for sailboats, became slices of pie and halves of sandwiches, and much, much more. Still, the triangle's favorite thing was to slip into place when people put their hands on their hips. That way I can always hear the latest news, it said, which I can tell my friends. Its friends liked hearing the news and were glad the triangle was back in shape again. The end. Yay! So, that was our story, The Greedy Triangle. Let's go back and revisit our objectives to see if you can figure out the 4 things you were asked to do at the beginning of the story. Number 1, was this book fiction or nonfiction? Well, I think it's fiction, and here's why. Even though all of the shapes in the story were real, the characters, which were shapes, were talking. Shapes don't talk. So when things that aren't supposed to talk in a book, that's normally a really good sign that it's a fiction story. Also, that little shape was able to change shapes and go all over the world in a matter of seconds. We know that's not real. That's not possible. So that's another good reason to prove that this book is a fiction book. Number 2. Number 2 was our story elements. These are always kind of a little bit longer, but you guys should be pretty good at this point. First thing is our characters. So there were 2 major characters in our story. There was the triangle and then the shapeshifter that helped the triangle change. Those 2 were the major characters in the story. Now, we also can't forget that the triangle had a bunch of other friends, which is also equally important. For the setting was kind of all over the place. It was in this fantastical world that had to do with shapes, and then it was also all over the real world. So we had the pyramids, we had the backyards, we had elbows. So yeah, the setting for this story, for the where, was kind of all over the world. The harder part is when, okay? Because this is a fiction book that was kind of all over the place, we can't really nail down a when. But we can say it was during the triangle, shapeshifter, and all of his friends' lives. Kind of stretch, but we'll take it. Next we have the problem, events, and solution. What do you think the major problem was in this story? Go ahead and tell somebody, ask somebody at your house right now, what do you think the major problem was, and how do you think it was solved? So the major problem in this story was that the triangle didn't want to be a triangle. The triangle wanted to be every other shape but a triangle. Alright? In the events of the story, we go through and we see the triangle change from all these different shapes. And the solution at the end was, he just wanted to be a triangle. He went back to being exactly what he was at the beginning. Which ties into our next thing. What's the lesson? I'm dizzy. So the lesson came at the very end of this story. After that triangle went through all these major shape changes, the triangle went back to the shapeshifter and said, hey, I want to be myself again. And the shapeshifter said, I'm not surprised. So the moral or the lesson of this story is just to be yourself. Especially in these times, people are going to ask you to do this, or make sure you're doing this, and don't forget this, and be this way, or go and do this that way. Guys, be yourselves. It's not the end of the world. This is new for every single one of us. All of your teachers here are working super hard and having to do things that we're not used to, but we're keeping it ourselves. We're going to bring you the best that we have to offer just by ourselves. So this is a really good lesson for what's happening right now in the world. Just make sure you guys be yourself, because that's the best version that you can be. Finally, can't forget the most important part. What is your opinion? Woo! So again, an opinion is what you think about the book. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And why? Make sure you provide your answer with at least 3 good reasons, because that way you're providing evidence to support your opinion. I'm not going to tell you my opinion on this book today. I want you guys to try and figure out how I like the book or not. More importantly, I want you guys to tell somebody at your house or your family, or even scream it out to your neighborhood using safe social distancing, to tell people what you thought about this book. Tell them you read a cool new book today. Give them like a mini book report. Make sure you wear a mask though. Alright guys, so that's all I have for you guys today. Special extra challenge right now. This mask is so itchy. Is that now that we've read a book about shapes, let's do some cross-curricular things. Cross-curricular means that you're doing something in one subject area and you bring it over to another. So now that we've done some reading and ELA things, I want you guys to transition and go into math. So can you guys find triangles all around your house? Can you guys find octagons all around your house? Can you guys figure out how to draw a triangle and figure out how many sides you need to make it into a square? Then how many sides do you need to make it into a pentagon? You guys can do a lot of stuff with this. Use your drawing, do some math, try and come up with some fun shapes, and then see where you can find those shapes in your world, in your house, outside, anywhere. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to our Friday Read Aloud. Please remember to check back here on Monday. You guys will get your new lesson for the week. And remember to be yourself, keep your friends, even though we're social distancing, and check out all those shapes. Right, Harlow? Fit and be a triangle.